welcome to TCR. Sid here, thanks for clicking on the video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Today we've processed one of the birds we're going to be using for Friendsgiving, our big bad Tom the turkey. And I'm going to show you how I like to get the brine ready for him. So I'm going to be making my brine now for my turkey, and I'm going to let it sit in this brine for the next 5 days before we take it out to cook it. I love brining turkeys. I think that it makes it so much more moist, so much more flavorful, and it really traps in those flavors when you're cooking it. Most people's biggest complaint about turkey is that it comes out too dry when they cook it, no matter how they cook it, whether they do it in the oven or in the barbecue or slow cook it or smoke it, whatever it is. Brining it beforehand with any kind of poultry, but especially turkey for Thanksgiving, makes all the difference in the world. To get my brine started, I'm going to be adding about a cup of salt, and I'm going to add about 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar. Now here's the great thing about making a brine is you don't really have to measure the rest. As long as you've got enough salt in there and sugar if you like. Some people don't like to add sugar, I do. I think it really livens it up a bit. The rest of the ingredients you can kind of play around with and see what you like. Things that you know that work well with whatever meat that you're brining or marinating, you know, roll with those. I like to use a couple different unique things that most people don't think to use. Chopped onions is not one of those. We'll get to the unique stuff in a second. I like to add, that's probably about 2 tablespoons of chopped onion, or if you're using a fresh onion, maybe about, if it's a large size yellow onion, I like to use the yellow sweet onions for brines. I would say maybe, half of it, or go ahead and throw the whole thing in. It's not gonna hurt anything. Definitely want to add some peppercorns in. I like to add 1 cinnamon stick, some aniseed, which has a little bit of a licorice flavor. I'll probably use about 1/2 teaspoon of that. It's pretty strong stuff. Star anise. These got a little bit broken, so I'm going to throw 2 in. About 1 teaspoon of juniper berries. I'm going to throw 4 little cardamom seed pods in. I'm going to add some thyme. You could probably do about a teaspoon or so, I would say. And again, the great thing about making a brine is you're just leaching some of that flavor in, so the actual quantities aren't that crucial. It's really what flavors you like the most. If you like the cardamom more, add more cardamom. If you like, whatever, it's just up to you. I am going to add some powdered poultry seasoning. It's got things like sage, white pepper, cumin. So I'm going to add some of that in here. Some bay leaves, and this is some rosemary from our garden that I have been drying, so it's super brittle, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of crush these sprigs into here and then leave the sprigs in. I really like garlic, so I've got about 5 little cloves here. I'm just going to roughly cut them up, throw that in as well. Now with all my dry ingredients in here, I like to go ahead and turn on the heat and kind of toast up some of those ingredients a little bit. Kind of heat them up on their own before I add the water, kind of toast the bottom of the pan before I start adding the water to actually make the brine juice. Look how good that looks. Yum, yum. Now that that's been toasting up for a minute, I'm going to go ahead and start adding my water. I just need enough to cover the dry ingredients. Basically what I'm doing is making a really concentrated version of the brine. So I'm going to let this come to a simmer, and a steady simmer, for a few minutes. Then I'm going to take it off the heat, let it cool down completely. Now if you're in a hurry to go ahead and get your meat into it, you can also add ice to it to cool it down. Put it into a different container, get the liquid cool down as fast as possible. The last thing that you want to do is pour a boiling hot brine onto your meat that you're not going to be cooking for a few days, right? You don't want to cook the outside. So you do want to make sure that you get your brine nice and cold prior to putting your bird into that brine. But since I just butchered the turkey, it's got to sit on ice for a little while on its own to cool down. This brine will have plenty of time to cool down, and I can just simply add some cold tap water to it to let it have enough volume to be able to cover the bird. So this has got a nice simmer going now. I'm just waiting for the last little bit of salt and sugar in there to completely dissolve, and that's when you know it's done. I usually like to let it simmer for about 10 minutes. For your turkey, make sure that you get yourself a brining bag. Now these are not foolproof, they can leak, and do check the size against the size of your bird that you're doing. And these can be used for other things as well that you're brining, but specifically you'll find them at Thanksgiving on a lot of the end caps. You'll find them brining bags. You can also order them on Amazon. They are not cheap and they're not really reusable. I do recommend, if you do your own Thanksgivings frequently, getting some food grade restaurant type containers. That really works best for submerging your bird, for really being able to keep it from leaking. It'll have a cover, and it's a lot easier to do it that way. But if you do go the route of a brining bag and you're putting the turkey in your fridge for at least a few days, I typically will recommend at least brining your bird for 3 days if you can prior. I like to do 5, but at least 3. Really let it soak in there. You do want to take your brining bag and put it into a food grade bucket, so that in case the bag leaks, in case something happens, it's not gonna like just drip all over your fridge and make a nasty mess. So in a few days we'll be cooking this bird. I believe we're gonna be doing it on the barbecue, and we will be making a video about that and how to cook your bird. So make sure you check that out in the next coming week or so. Don't forget to like the video, guys, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell so you get the notifications.